us what is expected out of a student, what is expected out of a faculty. Because we are all the blessed people from the society. We have taken so much from the society, and we have been taking so much from the society. Is it not our responsibility to give back to the society? Because day in and day out, we have so many entrepreneurs in our streets. Our street vendors, they're all nothing but the entrepreneurs, self-employment people. They are not depending on the government, but we are all depending on the government. So it is the responsibility, moral responsibility to all of us to keep thinking continuously, find out the solution what a farmer faces, find out a solution what a street vendor faces, find out a solution what the society faces. Then we all will be coming out with definitely the ideas. That is the reason why MHRD, UGC and AICTE have formed a guiding framework for higher education institutions. They have called it as National Innovation and Startup Policy for students and faculty. I'll just briefly take you through the policy. Basically, you will find most of the sentences. I'll expect every one of you to read, and everything is there on the net. Don't worry to take down any notes, all these things, because none of these are my own ideas. I'm only facilitating what is available on the net so that every one of you get ignited, keep thinking on this time. That's the only thing. So I'll be just going through the thing. So the rationale for all the entire framework is, in India, you all know, innovation is still not the epicenter of education. Whereas 100 years back, it was there for Stanford University. That's the reason why, if you see the Stanford University campus of 2,500 acres, 500-acre campus is only with industries. It is only because they have started right from the beginning, and every alumni who is passing out is given a free space and all the facility if they have come out with an ideas. That is the reason why many of the unicorns are the products of Harvard and Stanford. That's the culture. Now, thanks to the government of India for their efforts, now that they are creating this ecosystem, it is up to us as a stakeholder in different stages too. So because so far no support to institutions in engaging students and faculty to participate in innovation and entrepreneurship. And so far we all have failure is a stigma or a taboo in Indian ecosystem currently. Anything, any small thing we do, we are totally discouraged. We have to come out of all these things. Startups and entrepreneurship are not primary career options, at least now. India's demographic dividend is not fully tapped. No, people or PM and CMs keep telling us that India is blessed with the demographic dividend, which is nothing but 50% of our population is less than 45 years. It is just reverse in Japan and some countries. See how blessed we are. And imagine a situation where the entire demographic dividend is tuned to keep thinking on those lines, keep innovating, start thinking on it. Let 100 flowers blossom, like what Chinese Mao. That's the reason why you have millions of startup companies in China, and we have only hundreds of startup companies in India. I mean, unicorns, I'm telling. And we are having some thousands of startups, but provided with the kind of atmosphere, ecosystem that we are getting now, definitely we are prepared for touching that $5 trillion economy, which our finance minister keeps telling nowadays. All this can happen if we start investing in startups, if we start promoting startups, if we start small businesses make a lot instead of big industry. The employment potential in a big industry is very less compared to number of small companies, number of startup companies. Every student or faculty, think of, if you have your own company, you are helping the society and the country in a way that you are helping many families by employing yourself, by partnering yourself in your effort. And that is where your surging unemployment in India and globally also can be reduced when we start thinking on those lines. And the gap between skills required and skills imparted, there are so many. On one side, industry is looking for skillful people. On the other side, there are so many unemployed graduates who are looking for employment. And this is that gap that needs to be bridged. Then the syllabi and staff are not tuned to market needs. This is absolutely a very important point, right? So if we go on listing like this, the list goes on endlessly. So these are some of the rational points which the MHRD, UGC and AICTE has taken into consideration in framing these policy guidelines. So the vision of the MHRD is basically, it should serve as a guiding framework to envision an educational system oriented towards startups and entrepreneurship opportunities for students and faculties. Then provide ways to Indian higher education institutions for developing entrepreneurial agenda, intellectual property rights, ownership, technology licensing, sharing in startups and enterprises established by faculty and students. This is a very important point. So when you start thinking, you are developing your intellectual property rights, and then you are approaching for technology licensing, and with which once your college has some mileage, then other students pick up that idea. So this kind of a infectious enthusiasm, once it builds up in the academic community, then not 100 flowers, millions of flowers can blossom in India, considering the demographic dividend that the country has. So this should ultimately ensure innovation and startup culture, which should be the primary fulcrum of higher education system. That's the vision of the thing. Then the steps for implementation, they will be going through all these points: strategies and governance, startups enabling institutional infrastructure, nurturing innovation and startups, product ownership rights for technologies developed at institute, organizational capacity, human resources and incentives, creating innovation pipeline. We'll go through all the points one by one. We have a sub points basically to understand the concept. The norms for faculty startups, pedagogy and learning interventions for entrepreneurship development, collaboration, co-creation, business relationships and knowledge exchange, entrepreneurial impact assessment, and what is the way forward with all these things. So let's see the strategies and governance. For all these things, resource mobilization plans to support pre-incubation, incubation structure, important role. I'll discuss more about the pre-incubation and incubation after these points. We'll discuss what is typically expected out of an innovation center or an incubation center, and what are the different stages, and how we can leverage all these ideas and interact with the people. For this, a sustainable financial strategy to reduce the organizational constraints is essential, and that has to be the strategies in the governance. So the government expects innovation fund of at least 1% of total institutional budget to be earmarked for these activities. The strategy should be also to involve raising funds from diverse sources, like all funding agencies, DBT, DSC, TIFAC, NABARD, NRDC, NSTDB, and non-government sources such as industry and CSR part of the industry. Or another thing is sponsoring and donations from local bodies. So once you prove that you have this kind of a framework, this kind of an ecosystem in your college, and then every local body, every person should be able to come forward. Then the alumni is the biggest source, which has already been proved in IITs. So this can also be modeled in every college. Then the minimal hierarchical and maximum individual autonomy and ownership of these kind of organization. Then entrepreneurship culture should not be limited within the boundaries of the college. Keep that in mind. Because we have to move out to the society, invite problems, involve the local populace, invite local school students, college students, even farmers. We do conduct number of programs for the local farmers, thinking ideas, Srijan Shibis, so that they come out. In fact, the kind of ideas they have are really wonderful. And why not this be implemented by every college? And then startups enabling institutional infrastructure. So this pre-incubation facility accessible to 24/7 to students and staff and to others, basically. So whatever the facility that is being built by the college should have access to all these things. And a separately registered entity. This is exactly what Government of India insists. Even when our university, I'm proud to say that in 2007, and 3,658 applicants were there for establishing Atal Incubation Centers all over the country. Niti Aayog has sanctioned Atal Incubation Centers to only 13 organizations, 13. And in that 13 organizations, Sri Krishna Devaraya University was one, and it was the only state-funded university in the entire country. And then 17, 18, many IITs and many colleges and IIITs came. But for that, this was the only government-funded institute in the entire country to have that. Anyway, so they insisted that we should register this Atal Incubation Center as a special purpose vehicle. We have registered it as a Section 8 company. We are not answerable to the university. We are answerable to the Department of Corporate Affairs. So we should have a board of directors, and the board of directors, it should totally function as it. So even at the institutional level, when you form a kind of a incubation center or an innovation center, it's better to register it as a society. Because if not the Section 8 company, because the protocols for Section 8 companies to elaborate. So there is no point in going at this stage. You register it as a society and then start working independently without much influence from the institute. And that is the actual background behind this. So on mentoring other relevant series through pre-incubation, incubation units for freeze, equity sharing and zero payment or zero payment basis. So government always expects this kind of facility should not be given free of cost. So every institute which is involving all these things should have a minimal revenue model at every stage, so that the student or the faculty or the thing are involved. They are contributing, even a rupee matters, right? They are accountable for that. And that is the reason there has to be and then you can give a zero payment basis. You can give loan, institution can give a loan on zero payment basis, but they have to repay back. And that is the model which they have come. The nurturing innovation and startups. So establish processes and mechanisms for easy creation and nurturing of startups or enterprises by students, both UG, PG and PhD, staff, faculty, alumni, potential startup applicants, even from outside the institutions. This is the model which they think. Then ensure the following, that incubation support can be taken from an incubation from the thing. See, we are there from Atal Incubation Center to support any college. We do not have any geographical boundaries. We are a national facility, and fortunately for us, when we have CCMB in Hyderabad, which are specialized in medical healthcare. We have NIFT in Tirupur, Tamil Nadu, National Institute of Fashion Technology. They're all specialized. Whereas we can have in any domain, we can always handhold any startup, and incubation support we can give for IPR and any other mentoring kind of a thing. I'll come to that little later. So setting up a startup and working part-time for the startups while studying. Providing address to register the company in the campus. This plays a very important role. And they should be allowed to sit for the examination even if their attendance is less than the thing. Institutions are expected to give minimum attendance for all those students who are involved in this startup stage while studying. They can attend 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day depending on the thing, provided it is authentically attested by the principal or head of the department. And there is also a provision to give a semester or an year break if your startup requires your 24 hours attention for grow up, and you can again rejoin your academics to continue the course. This provision is also there in AICTE. A part-time or a full-time MS, MBA, PGDM in innovation, entrepreneurship and venture capitalist program, where one can get a degree while incubating and nurturing a startup company. So either you can pursue a course outside where the college should promote, or college itself can start this kind of a program to encourage all those students who are working in those ideas, internal facility. And every faculty may be encouraged to mentor at least one startup. So that way, teacher is in direct contact with us. Teacher are learning from the students. Always remember, I keep telling many of the students in every platform, we are all obsolete as far as the technology is concerned as teachers. Whereas the students who are in direct contact with the latest technologies and media, and they can understand the technologies better than us. So listen to them once in a while, work with them, sit with them, share their ideas, mentor them. This is one way we will get refreshed with the kind of technologies. And that's about all this. Then product ownership rights for technologies developed at the institutes. So IPR is a thing, and again, very recently, JNTU Anantapur has got this IPR funding from Government of India, and all those educational institutions, again, for that there is no bar. One institution, one college, it is not for the university. Anybody from anywhere can approach the JNTU for this IPR rights. And if your idea is definitely worth, and they will fund for the IPR registration process, because registration process itself is very expensive. And so these kind of a thing, they can always. So like this, we can facilitate to these kind of things where you can approach for industry mentors, these kind of a thing. So interdisciplinary research and publication and startup and entrepreneurship should be promoted by the institute. Disputes to be resolved through IPR body amicably, and wherever there is a conflict of interest in the sharing of the ideas. Then organizational capacity, human resources and incentives. So this is also one very important thing which the faculty and students should remember, that MHRD says recruit staff that have strong innovation and entrepreneurial industrial experience and attitude. This is very, very important. And this is going to be the order of the day in the years to come, mostly for the faculty to be appointed in engineering colleges. Cross-departmental linkages should be strengthened, shared faculty, cross-faculty teaching and research. So faculty and staff should be encouraged to do courses on innovation, entrepreneurship management, and venture capital development. And all these are, so that's the reason where we should be abreast of all these technologies knowledge and keep doing, because for this you don't need to go through any particular course. You have so many things in the web. All that is required is you have to spare your time. And I keep telling, you have Google Tataya and Mukesh Mamaya at your disposal. And as long as Google Tataya is there, you can keep asking anything for him and he's there ready to. And Mukesh is ready to, through Geo, he has been facilitating the access to internet all over the country. And that's what we should do. Keep using them. Then creating innovation, and what are the different ways for an entrepreneurs at institutional level. Spreading awareness among students, faculty, staff about the value of entrepreneurship and its role in career development or employability is very, very, very important. And students and staff should be taught that innovation is a mechanism to solve the problems of the society and consumers. Once the student knows, then he will be looking at the problem. That's the reason why in the beginning I've given an AICSKU logo, so that you start thinking, analyzing, understanding. So once you start observing for all these things, observation is very, very essential. So that's a small test for all the participants here. Once you have, keep observing that logo, and then you also keep getting it from now onwards. And then come out with what are all the ideas that the student has embedded in that logo to reflect the nature of operations of the organization. So we'll be giving you a special appreciation certificate in the end for all those people who are giving more valid points, more number of valid points on that logo. So it is only just to give an exercise for you to think. Then students and staff should be taught that innovation is a mechanism to solve the problems of the society and career. Students should be encouraged to develop entrepreneurial mindset by exposing them to training and cognitive skills. Link startups and companies with wider entrepreneurial ecosystem. Then establish institutions innovation cells as per the guidelines of MHRD. Every institution can apply this MA, because MHRD is giving liberal recognition to all these things because they are not funding it. So the institutions are expected to have this ecosystem and approach different funding agencies with this to develop further. So develop a ready reckoner of innovation toolkit, which must be kept on the home institution's website. Then norms for faculty startups. Faculty startups also, they have a clear norms, and the entire thing is available on the AICTE website, MHRD website, and it is also, I have also shared the entire thing, PPT and the framework policy model with the college, and it can be, I request the college dean to place it on the college website so that everyone can access that thing. So all these you can go through at leisure even if you are not going through now. And develop a policy on conflict of interest to ensure regular duties so that they don't suffer owing to involvement in the startup activities. Faculty must clearly separate and distinguish the ongoing research and conduct of the startup company. In case of selection of faculty startup by an outside international, a maximum leave for 1 semester or a year may be permitted to the faculty. This is also the thing. It's a mandatory on behalf of the AICTE for the institution to do this. And faculty must not accept gifts from the startup anyway. Faculty must not involve research staff or other staff of institute in activities and vice versa. They should themselves involve in that and then come out, interact with the students. Pedagogy and learning interventions for internship development. Then the diversified approach to produce desirable learning outcomes. Anyway, these are all the common points that the studies on business failure and real life expectations reports by startups keep doing this thing. Then what are they tolerating and encouraging? How you tolerate the failure? That is also, it should be part of the pedagogy and learning interventions. And the institutional innovation cells or entrepreneurial development cells can keep local programs within their college by taking the real life examples, case studies, use cases of different failures so that students who are failing at their initial stages should not get discouraged with all these things. So there is no failure when it comes to innovation. It is also a learning experience. If you are not able to do it with this, you can also do it by other methods. So there is no word failure in the dictionary of an innovator or an entrepreneur or a startup. Remember this. So entrepreneurship education should be imparted to students at different curricular and co-curricular levels in terms of electives and choice-based courses. Linkages should be leveraged for conducting research where the industries or NGOs involving the students in technology, research, innovation, and market intelligence. Customized teaching and training material should be developed for startups. This is what is expected. Then the collaboration, co-creation, business relationships, and knowledge exchange as a stakeholder. Who are the stakeholders of education institutions? Every member of the society, not only the students and staff or the managements, every member of the society, every citizen is a stakeholder in the institute, in that region. So there is no bar for these kind of things. Stakeholder engagement should be given prime importance in the entrepreneurial agenda of the institute. Institute should find potential partners, resource organizations, social entrepreneurs, schools, alumni, professional bodies to support entrepreneurship and co-design the programs. Knowledge exchange through collaboration and partnership should be made part of the institutional policy. Then the entrepreneurial impact assessment. This is also a very important. Formulation of strategy and impact assessment should go hand in hand. And sustainable social, financial, and technological impact. So government never expects the institution to give everything free of cost to the students and staff. You charge them very, very normally, which is affordable, so that they are also have the accountability that I am contributing in terms of membership to such a small amount, and I should earn more by devising a revenue model. So that is the thing. Commercial, remember, ultimately, commercial success alone is the measure in the long run. Otherwise, if you go on giving free, nothing comes out of the thing. The student should be accountable for every penny that is invested by the institute for their development, right? It should not mean that you should charge heftily to the student, right? You have a minimal membership, then go on encouraging all those people who are coming out with this thing and give them the rewards from out of the fund that is earmarked for the purpose. And that is exactly what is entrepreneurial impact assessment. So even Niti Aayog directs all Atal Incubation Center, no service should be given free. But still we take a leverage because we are in the process of spreading this awareness among, we have around 13 to 15 educational institutions who have signed MOU with us and where we give them continuous assessment. And soon we have to go with a very, very, very minimal membership thing because Niti Aayog never wants us to give free. They expect us to give a very nominal thing. So that's the model which we will be going up. So with this, the government of India with the Niti